Welcome back, coin enthusiasts and treasure hunters, to another deep dive into the fascinating world of rare and valuable coins where history, mystery, and a touch of luck come together to make ordinary pocket change worth small fortunes. And in today's video, we are exploring one of the most intriguing and astonishing examples of this phenomenon. The 1966 Washington quarter dollar that has stunned collectors and investors alike by fetching up to $85,000 at auction, all because of a unique blend of minting errors, anomalies, and historical circumstances that elevate it far above its modest face value of 25 cents. And as we journey through the twists and turns of its production story, mint characteristics, and the numismatic factors contributing to its incredible worth, you'll discover exactly why this unassuming coin, often overlooked in circulation, has become one of the most talked about pieces in the coin collecting world, beginning first with a quick look into the context of its release during a turbulent time in U.S. minting history, the mid-1960s, when the United States Mint was undergoing rapid changes in both composition and coinage policies due to the nationwide coin shortage and the discontinuation of silver in quarters, a decision officially enacted in 1965. And so the 1966 quarter is among the earliest issues made from the new copper-nickel-clad composition that replaced the traditional 90% silver alloy. But this transitional period was chaotic at best, with the U.S. Mint operating under significant pressure to produce enough coinage to meet public demand, leading to an environment where mistakes were far more likely to slip through undetected, especially since coins minted between 1965 and 1967 lacked mint marks as part of an effort to discourage hoarding and allow mints to operate at maximum capacity without public scrutiny. A move that has only added another layer of mystery to coins like the 1966 quarter, because without a mint mark, it becomes exceedingly difficult to trace its origin or production nuances. Yet collectors have uncovered multiple varieties and anomalies that point to production issues at different mint facilities, and this lack of clear origin paired with known inconsistencies in striking, planchet preparation, and die maintenance has given rise to some spectacular mint errors, which when preserved in high-grade condition or in particularly dramatic form, can command astronomical prices on the secondary market, especially when authenticated and graded by top-tier services like PCGS or NGC. And among these errors, the most notable that pushes the 1966 quarter into the five-figure territory is the dramatic double die obverse, an error in which the die used to strike the coin was improperly prepared with a doubled image, resulting in clear doubling on the lettering, particularly in the word Liberty and the date 1966. And although not all doubled dies are created equal, the more pronounced and dramatic the doubling, the more value it can hold, especially when it occurs on a transitional year coin like this, and collectors go absolutely wild for strong visual errors that can be seen without magnification, as this not only increases the visual appeal but also the market value exponentially. And beyond the doubled die, another key variety is the off-center strike, which occurs when the blank planchet is not properly aligned in the coining press, leading to a coin that is partially struck and missing parts of its design. And the further off-center the strike, the more valuable the coin becomes, particularly if the date is still fully visible, because date visibility is essential for authentication and value assignment. And then there are the rarer but hugely desirable examples of broad strike errors, where the retaining collar fails and the coin expands beyond its normal diameter during striking, creating a unique, flattened edge that stands out to experienced collectors and error specialists alike. And we also must discuss the elusive transitional errors, such as when a planchet intended for another denomination or composition is mistakenly used. And although silver planchets were officially discontinued for quarters after 1964, rare exceptions exist where leftover silver planchets were accidentally fed into the presses, producing silver-clad quarters in 1965 or even as late as 1966, and any genuine 1966 quarter struck on a silver planchet is a unicorn in the numismatic world, worth tens of thousands or more depending on grade, rarity, and provenance, and this type of error is extremely difficult to fake convincingly, so authenticated examples enjoy high demand and limited supply, further driving up prices. And let's not forget about the possibilities of struck-through errors where foreign materials such as grease or debris interferes during striking, leading to partial or missing design elements. And though these may not be as dramatic as a doubled die or silver planchet error, rare and extreme examples can still fetch significant amounts when paired with the right conditions, especially when collectors can confirm authenticity and visual appeal. And another component contributing to value is the overall condition of the coin, with high-grade specimens, those graded MS66, MS67, or even MS68, being astronomically more valuable than their circulated counterparts, since the 1966 quarters were struck for mass production and not preserved in mint sets due to the lack of annual proof sets between 1965 and 1967, so finding a 1966 quarter in pristine, uncirculated condition is itself a challenge, making them rare candidates for top-tier grading. And when these high-grade examples also happen to feature errors, you have the makings of a truly valuable coin, often achieving auction prices that boggle the mind. And it's this convergence of factors: transitional year, high production pressure, absence of mint marks, composition changes, variety of known errors, and difficulty in locating high-grade examples, that creates the perfect storm for the 1966 quarter to become a legend in the eyes of collectors. And while not every 1966 quarter will be worth more than face value, it's the thrill of discovery, the knowledge of what to look for, and the possibility that an overlooked coin in your collection or change jar might be one of these rare treasures that keeps this hobby so endlessly fascinating. And with tools like digital scales to weigh for silver content, magnification to check for doubling, and online auction histories to track value trends, today's collectors are more empowered than ever to identify and understand the value of error coins, and the 1966 quarter stands as a prime example of how history, human error, and numismatic detail converge into something far more valuable than its humble denomination suggests. And if you ever come across one of these quarters and notice anything unusual, be it doubling unusual, weight, strange coloration, misalignment, or off-center design, it's worth getting it checked by a professional, because you might just be holding onto a piece of American minting history that could change your financial story. And as this coin continues to circulate within the collector community, with values rising as public awareness grows and more examples are discovered and authenticated, the legend of the 1966 quarter worth $85,000 and more continues to captivate and inspire new generations of collectors, reinforcing the idea that the most valuable treasures are sometimes hiding in plain sight, and that every coin tells a story worth listening to. So thank you for joining us on this exploration of one of America's most fascinating and valuable era coins, and stay tuned for more deep dives into the world of numismatics, where each video may unlock the door to another amazing discovery right at your fingertips. And now, moving forward into another captivating chapter in the world of valuable modern coins, we turn our attention to a quarter that has left collectors astonished by its shocking price tag of up to $73,000, the 1979 Washington quarter dollar, a coin that on the surface may appear to be an ordinary piece of late 20th century currency, but, when produced under rare and specific era conditions, transforms into a numismatic marvel that holds immense value and intrigue. And just like the 1966 quarter we previously discussed, the 1979 quarter comes from a time of significant transition and technological development within the United States Mint, and the subtle changes, production anomalies, and overlooked variations from that year have birthed some truly exceptional finds. And it's these finds, these mistakes, and these elusive details that elevate the humble 25-cent piece to something worth tens of thousands of dollars. So what exactly makes the 1979 quarter so desirable and valuable to collectors that it can command such a high price in the open market? And how can everyday individuals recognize these rare treasures if they ever encounter one in circulation or tucked away in an old coin jar? Well, let's dive deep into the mysteries and marvels of the 1979 quarter to unpack everything that goes into making a particular specimen worth $73,000 or more. Starting with the context of its minting year, which was a time when the U.S. Mint was implementing advances in coinage technology while also continuing to respond to growing demand for coins in general circulation, and in 1979, the quarter was still being produced with the copper-nickel clad composition that had been adopted since the coinage reform of the mid-1960s. And while that in itself isn't unique, the story lies in the details of production, particularly in the errors and die varieties that occurred during that year, and one of the most valuable and talked about errors in the 1979 quarter is a rare and dramatic off-metal strike, in which the quarter design was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, most notably a Susan B. Anthony dollar planchet, which weighs more and has a slightly larger diameter and silver-like appearance due to its manganese-clad composition, and when a quarter is struck on this incorrect planchet, it results in a coin that carries both visual and physical anomalies, different color tone, incorrect weight, and often slightly expanded or distorted design fields, all of which are traits that experienced collectors are trained to look for. And since these errors are incredibly rare and almost always unintended consequences of high-speed automated processes, any authenticated example of a 1979 quarter struck on a dollar planchet can command staggering premiums, especially when accompanied by a high-grade condition designation from top-tier grading companies. And then there are equally fascinating double denomination strikes, where a coin is struck twice, first as one denomination, then again with a different die, leading to overstruck designs such as a quarter over a cent or over a dime. And while these are spectacular errors in any year, examples from 1979 are especially valuable due to their extreme rarity and the relatively modern era in which they occurred, which makes their survival all the more unlikely. And collectors will also pay immense sums for coins exhibiting strong doubled dies, particularly on the obverse where doubling in the date 1979, the word liberty, or I in God we trust can be detected, and although not every instance of doubling results in a valuable coin, the most dramatic and crisp doubled die examples, especially those verified by reputable grading services, can skyrocket in value, and since most people overlook such subtle details, these coins often lie dormant in collections or change drawers until someone with a trained eye uncovers the truth. And adding to this list of remarkable errors is the full brockage strike, which occurs when a newly struck coin remains in the die and acts as a reverse die for the next blank planchet, producing a mirrored and inked image on one side and a normal strike on the other, creating a dramatic and highly prized error. And any 1979 quarter exhibiting such a flaw, particularly when crisp and undamaged, becomes an immediate showpiece in any collection. And then we must consider clipped planchet errors, which result in part of the coin being missing due to an improper blank being cut from the metal strip, and while minor clips are relatively common, major curved clips with visible impact on the design and rim, especially those with key elements like the date still intact, are rare and significantly more valuable, and collectors place high premiums on coins that display such errors in conjunction with clean strike details and minimal post-mint damage. And while all these errors contribute greatly to the potential value of a 1979 quarter, condition once again plays a critical role in determining just how high the price can go, and examples that combine dramatic errors with mint state grades, particularly MS-67 or higher, are the ones that reach the upper echelons of auction records. And we must also discuss the role of provenance, demand, and grading populations. As the fewer examples that exist of a given error or variety, the more competitive collectors become in acquiring one, and if a coin is both rare and in exceptional condition, bidding wars at major numismatic auctions can drive prices well beyond standard catalog estimates, and this is precisely how a 1979 quarter, in the right era category and high grade, can sell for over $73,000, stunning even seasoned collectors and dealers. And let's not overlook the role of misaligned die strikes, which, although less dramatic than some other errors, still generate significant interest when severe, especially when the die misalignment causes noticeable rotation of the coin's reverse or off-center designs that distort the usual alignment of obverse and reverse elements. And in extreme cases, these coins can fetch thousands. And again, when paired with pristine preservation, those numbers multiply rapidly. And what makes the 1979 quarter even more interesting is that it's a relatively recent coin by numismatic standards, meaning there are still likely undiscovered examples out there in personal collections, change drawers, and bank rolls, just waiting to be found by an observant eye. And it's that very possibility, the idea that a coin worth tens of thousands could be hiding in plain sight, that adds so much thrill to the hobby of coin collecting, turning what some see as spare change into modern-day treasure hunts. And as awareness grows and information spreads through communities, forums, and online marketplaces, the demand for these unique 1979 quarter errors continues to rise, placing increasing value on coins that were once discarded or ignored. And for anyone new to collecting or hoping to get into era coin hunting, the 1979 quarter offers a fantastic opportunity to study the impact of minting processes, technological mishaps, and the role of human oversight in creating unintentional rarity. And by learning to identify the subtle cues, like weight discrepancies, visual distortions, or missing details, you too could potentially stumble across a coin that transforms a regular day into a life-changing discovery. So whether you're a seasoned numismatist or just someone who enjoys checking their change for interesting pieces, keep a sharp eye out for those peculiar 1979 quarters, because if you happen to find one with an error that's well preserved and authenticated, you might just be holding the key to a $73,000 windfall, a powerful reminder that the world of coins is full of surprises. And history often hides in the smallest, most unexpected places. Continuing our exciting journey through the world of rare and valuable U.S. quarters, we now arrive at an often overlooked yet surprisingly valuable coin that has stunned collectors and fetched prices as high as $60,000 under the right circumstances: the 1987 D Washington quarter dollar, a coin minted during a time of modern production efficiency and high output, yet somehow, against all odds. Select specimens from this year and mint have exhibited error types and condition rarities so extreme and desirable that they've earned a spot among the most valuable quarters in recent memory. And while the average 1987 D quarter might be nothing more than pocket change, there are extraordinary examples out there whose anomalies have catapulted them into numismatic stardom. And to understand how a coin from this otherwise unremarkable minting year could possibly reach a value of $60,000, we must take a deep dive into the specifics of the Denver Mint's production characteristics, the error types discovered, and how a perfect storm of mechanical failure, material mishap, and pristine preservation can turn a common coin into a legendary find. So let's start by remembering that in 1987, the U.S. Mint was producing quarters with the standard copper-nickel clad composition and by that point had already implemented several refinements in die making and coin pressing processes, meaning that mistakes were rarer than they were in earlier decades. But rarer doesn't mean impossible, and in fact, when a high-speed, high-volume mint operation does make a mistake, it's often dramatic, creating the kind of error that instantly grabs a collector's attention. And this is precisely the case with certain 1987 D quarters that have surfaced exhibiting off-metal errors, such as being struck on planchets intended for other denominations like nickels or foreign coins, resulting in anomalies in size, weight, thickness, and coloration. And while these are scarce to begin with, finding one in near-perfect mint state condition is exponentially rarer and more valuable. And among the most sought-after of these are the 1987 D quarters struck on planchets meant for cents or foreign currency blanks, which create visibly odd coins with color and weight inconsistencies. And due to their uniqueness and the near impossibility of replication, such coins, when authenticated and encapsulated by a major grading service, can command tens of thousands of dollars at auction. And one particularly well-documented case involved a 1987 D quarter struck on a copper penny planchet, weighing roughly 3.11 grams instead of the normal 5.67 grams, and displaying a coppery red hue instead of the usual silver-gray nickel-clad finish. And this error stood out not only due to the obvious visual cues but because it retained the full date and mint mark, making it verifiable and extremely collectible. And then there are the spectacular misstrikes such as broad strikes, double strikes, and off-center errors, with some examples of the 1987 D quarter showing up to 50% off-center but still retaining full date visibility, which is essential for collectors who require diagnostic features to be present, and when coins of this nature also grade in the MS-66 or MS-67 range, their rarity and demand skyrockets. And we cannot overlook the importance of high-grade condition even in the absence of dramatic errors, because certain coins from 1987D have been found in exceptionally pristine condition with full original luster, no contact marks, and razor-sharp strike details, leading to top pop status among registry collectors who compete to own the highest graded example of each year and mint mark combination. And when populations are low for top graded coins, especially in MS-68 or higher, it creates extreme bidding pressure, pushing prices into the tens of thousands for coins that may otherwise appear ordinary to the untrained eye, and this is especially true of 1987D quarters that come from original bank rolls or mint-sealed sets and have remained untouched for decades, retaining every microscopic detail of their original strike, and occasionally, these same coins exhibit additional features like die clashes, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet in place, leaving ghost-like imprints of the opposing design elements that collectors find endlessly fascinating, and in rare cases, these die clash errors combine with other anomalies such as struck through debris or retained grease, which can partially obscure parts of the design and make for one-of-a-kind coins that command extraordinary premiums. And all of this is magnified by the fact that the 1987D quarter is not widely known among casual collectors as a valuable issue, meaning fewer people actively look for or preserve these coins, making the discovery of an error or high-grade piece even more remarkable. And this market obscurity actually works in favor of those who know what to look for, as there's less competition and more opportunity to stumble upon a coin that others may have overlooked. So whether it's a dramatic planchet error, a rare misalignment, a full brockage, or simply an ultra-high-grade example in flawless condition, the 1987D quarter offers a range of potential value scenarios that all have one thing in common. They transform an everyday coin into something worth up to $60,000 or more, and as always, authentication and grading are absolutely critical when it comes to commanding these sky-high prices. So if you suspect you've found a 1987D quarter that looks or feels different, has unusual color, or shows design anomalies, it's vital to have it examined by professionals like PCGS or NGC, who can confirm its legitimacy and assign a grade that can then open doors to high-end auctions, registry competition, and serious collector interest. And what's perhaps most thrilling about the 1987D quarter is that it exemplifies the idea that even modern coins, if produced under rare enough circumstances and preserved well enough, can become incredibly valuable, reinforcing the importance of attention to detail, education, and curiosity in the hobby of coin collecting. And as more people become aware of these hidden gems, the value and competition surrounding them will likely increase, making now an ideal time to start inspecting your change, your inherited collections, or those forgotten coin rolls you might have stashed in a drawer somewhere, because one of them just might contain a 1987D quarter with the right mix of error, rarity, and condition to be worth a staggering $60,000, proving once again that the thrill of coin collecting lies not just in history and design, but in the unexpected, extraordinary stories buried in even the smallest and most ordinary-looking coins. Now let's turn our attention to another remarkable find in the modern coinage era that has taken collectors by surprise with its surprising market value and rarity: the 1990p Washington quarter dollar, a coin that, under ordinary circumstances, blends seamlessly with everyday pocket change but in certain extraordinary cases has sold for as much as $30,000. And what makes this particular coin so fascinating is that its value is not just based on a single type of error or anomaly, but rather a range of potential mistakes, planchet issues, die varieties, and preservation factors that together create a perfect storm for serious numismatic interest. And to fully appreciate how a 1990p quarter could climb from a mere 25 cents to a price tag rivaling a new car, we need to begin by examining the context of its production at the Philadelphia Mint, which in 1990 was still operating under high-volume coin production mandates to meet national demand, with hundreds of millions of quarters being struck that year, which meant that while quality control was robust, it was not immune to errors, And it is within those very rare errors that we find the key to this coin's potential value, and first and foremost among these is the occurrence of the 1990p quarter being struck on a transitional or off-metal planchet, and while the official composition of the quarter at that time remained copper-nickel clad, there have been authenticated cases where quarters from this year were mistakenly struck on planchets intended for cents, nickels, or even foreign coins, and when such a mistake happens, the resulting coin will often have physical attributes that immediately stand out to a trained eye, differences in weight, color, thickness, or diameter, and such specimens, once verified by grading services, become immediate collector trophies. With some known off-metal 1990p quarters selling for upwards of $10,000 to $30,000 depending on condition and visual clarity of the error. And in some extremely rare cases, these off-metal strikes occurred on leftover planchets from earlier compositions or denominations, such as copper-based blanks or even experimental foreign contract planchets that were accidentally fed into the U.S. coin presses during the minting process. And beyond off-metal errors, there's also the incredibly rare occurrence of missing clad layers, where either the obverse, reverse, or both sides of the coin lack the nickel coating that gives the quarter its standard silvery appearance, revealing instead the reddish or brownish tone of the copper core beneath. And while this might look like damage to the untrained eye, collectors know that a genuine missing clad layer, especially one confirmed by professional authentication and with a clean strike and full date, is a premium error that can boost a coin's value dramatically. And what makes the 1990p examples particularly valuable in this regard is the fact that most circulated coins with this error have been discarded or dismissed as damaged, making high-grade and well-centered examples extremely scarce and thus extremely desirable. And this leads us to yet another category of value, the high-grade mint state 1990p quarter, which despite the high mintage numbers, is remarkably difficult to find in top condition due to the nature of mass production, rapid die wear, and widespread circulation. And when a coin like this manages to survive in pristine condition, meaning no scratches, dings, discoloration, or weak strike, it enters a very exclusive tier of grading where only a handful of specimens exist, and for a modern clad quarter to reach a grade of MS68 or higher is truly exceptional, with such examples fetching thousands and even tens of thousands at auction, especially when tied to registry sets where elite collectors compete for the highest known grades. And when those high-grade conditions are combined with a major error, say, a missing clad layer, off-center strike, or off-metal planchet, the resulting coin becomes a true rarity, and prices can skyrocket, as has been seen with certain 1990p quarters that reach 5 figures simply due to the sheer perfection of their preservation. And then we have dramatic misstrikes, such as coins that were double struck off-center, or produced with a significant die rotation, and while these errors exist in many mint years, they are extremely rare for 1990p quarters and thus carry increased collector demand. Especially when the design elements like the date, mint mark, and Washington's profile are still fully visible despite the misstrike, and let's not forget the importance of die varieties, particularly doubled dies, which occur when a die used in the minting process was engraved twice slightly out of alignment, causing elements like the lettering, date, or Liberty's features to appear doubled on the coin itself. And although doubled dies are often subtle and easily missed, when they are prominent and dramatic, especially on the obverse, they become highly valuable. And while no major double die varieties for the 1990p quarter have yet achieved the fame of earlier coins, that's part of what makes the search exciting, because new discoveries are still being made as collectors pay closer attention and grading services expand their variety attribution catalogs. And all of these factors, the possibility of off-metal errors, missing clad layers, misstrikes, doubled dies, and extremely high grades, contribute to the possibility of finding a 1990p quarter that could sell for $30,000 or more. And this is what makes modern coin collecting so thrilling, because even coins from relatively recent decades like the 1990s can hold surprises that only reveal themselves through close inspection, precise weighing, or microscopic analysis. And as more people become aware of these rarities and more coins are sent in for grading, the competition for top examples will only intensify, meaning that values will likely continue to climb as supply remains low and demand surges. And so if you ever come across a 1990p quarter that looks a little strange, feels lighter or heavier than expected, has a color that seems off, or appears in unusually good condition, don't be too quick to spend it or toss it in the change jar. Because you just might be holding one of the rarest and most valuable quarters of the modern era, a $30,000 gem hiding in plain sight, waiting to reward the careful observer with a keen eye and a sense of numismatic curiosity. And now, as we continue our thrilling journey through the fascinating world of rare and valuable U.S. quarters, we arrive at a coin that may seem surprisingly recent yet holds a powerful position among modern collectibles: the 2000 Washington quarter dollar, a coin minted at the dawn of a new millennium that, under exceptional and very specific circumstances, has commanded prices as high as $15,000, a staggering amount for a coin that most people would never suspect of holding more than its 25-cent face value. And what makes the 2000 quarter so interesting is that it was minted during a period of great transition and excitement in the world of American coinage, as the U.S. Mint was in the middle of the immensely popular 50-state quarters program, which began in 1999 and continued through 2008. Releasing 5 new reverse designs per year representing each U.S. state in the order they joined the Union, and while the Denver Mint was pumping out millions of coins to meet demand from collectors and the general public alike, the sheer volume of production opened the door for a number of fascinating errors and varieties. And this is exactly where the opportunity lies for collectors. Because while the average 2000 quarter is worth only face value, there are rare versions that were struck with dramatic minting errors or unusual features that make them worth thousands. And one of the most famous and valuable types of errors from the 2000 quarter is the mule error, which occurs when obverse and reverse dies from different coin series are mistakenly paired and used to strike a coin. And although this kind of error is extraordinarily rare and usually caught quickly during production, a now legendary mule was discovered in the year 2000, featuring the obverse of a Washington quarter paired with the reverse of a Sacagawea dollar, and while that mule was actually struck in Philadelphia, its fame helped shine a spotlight on the importance of closely examining coins from that year for other anomalies, and in the case of the 2000 quarter, collectors have documented major misstrikes, off-center strikes, double strikes, and missing clad layers, all of which contribute to the coin's appeal and potential value. And some 2000 quarters were discovered with full or partial missing clad layers, revealing the copper core of the planchet on one or both sides, resulting in a coin with a reddish hue instead of the expected silver-gray nickel appearance. And when these missing clad layer errors are centered, clearly visible, and maintain the date and mint mark intact, they become incredibly desirable among error collectors, with prices climbing into the thousands. And what makes the Denver minted versions particularly appealing is their relative scarcity compared to their Philadelphia counterparts in specific error categories. Especially since the Denver Mint was known to have stricter quality control during this period, meaning that any major error that did escape represents a genuine anomaly and holds tremendous collector value. And another fascinating error from the 2000 quarter is the off-center strike, where the coin is struck with the planchet misaligned, resulting in a portion of the design missing or distorted, and the more off-center the strike, while still retaining the full date, the more valuable the coin becomes. With some examples of 50 to 75% off-center strikes reaching into the $5,000 to $10,000 range. Particularly when combined with excellent condition. And speaking of condition, as with all valuable modern quarters, high-grade preservation is a key factor in reaching top value, and coins graded MS67, MS68, or higher are exceedingly rare for the 2000 quarter, especially when they exhibit a mint error as well. And in cases where a dramatic error is paired with top-tier grading by PCGS or NGC, the value can climb to $15,000 or more, as seen in several high-profile auction results over the past decade. And another variety of great interest in the 2000 quarters lies in possible double dies, particularly in the state reverse designs released that year, which include Massachusetts, Maryland, South Carolina, New Hampshire, and Virginia, and collectors have reported doubled lettering, especially in the state names or mottos. And while many of these varieties have yet to be formally cataloged in every grading service's reference database, the market is already responding strongly to well-documented examples with strong visual doubling, and as more collectors and specialists examine state quarters in detail, new doubled dies and die clash varieties continue to emerge, further increasing interest in and value of these coins. And among state quarters from 2000D, some of the highest value errors are found in the South Carolina and Virginia issues, where missing clad layers, strong off-center strikes, and unusual dyed breaks or cuts have been discovered, with each error providing a glimpse into the unpredictable nature of high-speed coin production and the unique results it can occasionally yield. And what makes this coin's story even more compelling is the fact that these high-value examples often go unnoticed by the general public because the year 2000 doesn't seem far away in the grand scheme of coinage history, leading most people to assume that any coins from that era are still too new to be worth anything significant. But the truth is, these modern rarities often catch collectors by surprise and can turn up in pocket change, inherited collections, or forgotten rolls of quarters stored away for years, and the 2000D quarter in particular remains one of the most promising modern quarters for new collectors to study and hunt, because it combines the popularity of the state quarters program, the high production figures of the Denver Mint, and a growing body of known errors and high-grade rarities that have proven to bring substantial returns at auction. And for those seeking to identify a potentially valuable 2000D quarter, the key things to look for include misaligned or off-center designs, visible doubling in text or images, missing clad layers, planchet anomalies, unusually light or heavy weight, or perfectly preserved surfaces free from scratches and wear. And as always, authentication by a trusted grading service is absolutely essential before any coin can achieve top market value. And once certified, these coins can command the attention of elite collectors and investors, especially those building registry sets or completing specialized error collections. So the next time you're sorting through your change or reviewing a roll of quarters from your bank or an old coin stash, keep a sharp eye out for the year 2000 with that little D mint mark, because you just might stumble across a rare and spectacular piece of minting history that transforms your ordinary day into one worth $15,000. Reminding us once again that the incredible world of numismatics is filled with stories, surprises, and the thrilling possibility that even the most modern-looking coin could turn out to be a hidden treasure. And continuing on this incredible journey through the world of astonishingly valuable quarters, we now arrive at a coin that surprises even seasoned collectors with its quiet elegance and massive potential value, the 2001's Washington quarter dollar, a coin that, at first glance, seems like it should never be worth more than a few dollars given its intended purpose as a proof coin, made specifically for collectors and never meant for general circulation, but in reality, under specific and rare conditions, this quarter has been known to fetch up to $14,000, a jaw-dropping amount for a modern coin, and one that underscores how even coins that were specially packaged and preserved can still develop extremely rare and valuable attributes that ignite fierce bidding wars and generate enormous interest across the numismatic community. And to understand the reasons behind the extraordinary value of some 2001's quarters, we must start with the basics of how these coins were made and distributed, because unlike standard circulation quarters struck at the Philadelphia or Denver mints, the 2001's quarters were minted at the San Francisco Mint and were produced exclusively as proof coins, highly polished, sharply struck pieces made with specially prepared dies and planchets, and sold in limited edition proof sets to collectors. And in the year 2001, the U.S. Mint released 5 different state quarters in this format: New York, North Carolina, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Kentucky, each with its own intricate reverse design commemorating that state's unique history and identity. And these proof coins were made in both standard copper-nickel clad and in 90% silver versions, both of which carry the signature S Mint mark. But it's not the standard proof coins that draw the high prices. It's the rare error coins and ultra-high-grade specimens that make the 2001's quarter an unexpected numismatic powerhouse. And perhaps the most dramatic of these is the discovery of a small number of 2001's proof quarters that were mistakenly struck on the wrong planchet, specifically, being struck on clad planchets when intended to be silver, or vice versa, or even struck on planchets from other denominations entirely, resulting in errors such as the wrong weight, off color, and incorrect sound when dropped, and in the world of proof coins, which are supposed to be pristine and tightly controlled. Such a mistake is exceedingly rare and incredibly desirable to collectors who specialize in minting anomalies, and one known example involved the 2001's Kentucky quarter struck on a dime planchet, causing a severely undersized coin with clip design elements, yet the detail and sharpness of the remaining features made it obvious that it was indeed a proof error, and when authenticated and encapsulated by a major grading service like PCGS or NGC, it achieved a massive sale price. And another key factor that adds tremendous value to 2001's quarters is the grade itself. Because proof coins are generally well preserved, most examples fall in the PR67 to PR69 range, but the jump to a perfect PR70 grade, especially one designated as deep cameo, is a rare and valuable distinction, and because the PR70 grade represents a perfect coin with no post-production flaws visible under 5x magnification. The population of 2001's quarters with this grade is minuscule, making them highly sought after by collectors seeking perfection for registry sets, and when supply is that limited and demand is high, prices naturally soar, and in fact, several 2001's proof quarters have been recorded selling for over $10,000 and reaching as high as $14,000 when encapsulated as PR70 Deep Cameo and tied to a particularly competitive registry slot. And the Deep Cameo designation itself refers to the stunning contrast between the frosted design elements and the mirror-like fields of the coin, which is a hallmark of high-quality proof strikes. But not all proofs achieve this contrast, especially over time, so coins with deep cameo surfaces that have remained untarnished, untuned, and untouched are extremely rare and valuable. And in addition to grade rarity and planchet errors, collectors have also uncovered a few examples of 2001's proof quarters with strike-through errors, where foreign material, such as a piece of cloth, grease, or even thread, interfered with the striking process, leaving a distorted or incomplete image on the coin. And while strike-throughs are more commonly associated with circulation coins, their presence on proof coins is both astonishing and prized, especially because proof coins are supposed to be handled with exceptional care and precision, so when something goes wrong in their production, it creates a true oddity that can command top dollar at auction, and to make matters even more interesting, some 2001's quarters have been found with minor yet distinguishable doubled dies, especially in the lettering on the obverse or the details in the reverse designs, and while these doubled dies are not always dramatic, when they appear on a proof coin in high grade, they become highly desirable among variety collectors, particularly those who specialize in the state quarter series, and even small errors or anomalies in proof coins, when documented and certified, can make all the difference between a coin worth $20 and a coin worth $14,000. And let's not forget the role of packaging and preservation, because proof coins were sold in government-issued cases or sets. Many have suffered from environmental damage, hazing, or clouding over the years, and only those coins that were carefully stored in climate-controlled environments and never touched or cleaned retain their perfect surfaces, making them viable candidates for the top grades. And those coins, when they also exhibit unique features like extreme contrast, flawless mirrors, or striking errors, are the ones that make headlines when they sell. So if you happen to own a 2001's proof set, particularly the silver version, take a moment to examine your quarters under magnification and good lighting, check for missing layers, unusual strike characteristics, unexpected planchet color, or any surface anomalies, and if the coin appears flawless or presents anything out of the ordinary, it's absolutely worth sending it in for professional grading and authentication, because you might be sitting on a pristine error or a top-grade example that's worth thousands. And as more collectors enter the market and registry set competition becomes increasingly fierce, coins like the 2001's quarter that combine modern minting history with extreme rarity and condition excellence are only going to become more valuable, reminding us yet again that great treasures don't always lie buried or hidden in ancient history, sometimes they're quietly resting in a proof-set drawer, waiting to be recognized for the rare and stunning gems they truly are.